All right, so on the instructions for number 1 and 2, it says WRS are all 3 points on the number line. W is the midpoint of RS. For each pair of coordinates given, find the coordinate of the third point. So it says W is the midpoint. So if I go in here and I look at this set of points, again, W is the midpoint. So that means this here is one of the what? If it's not a midpoint of the segment, what are the other 2 points called? Endpoints. Right, so make sure you know the vocab. You'll need that for the test. So endpoints are the other 2 things. All right. So here's one of them, and then the one that we're trying to find. All right. We're trying to find, if you look at there, point R. All right. Trying to find point R. So what is R? And R is one of the endpoints as well that we're trying to find. So if I imagine on a number line here, so I take that and if I plot my 2 points on a number line, my 2 endpoints, here is S at 2. We know that W is at -4. That's where W is. And we know that we're trying to find out where is R. So what's the value of R? What did y'all get? You should have -10. And how did you get -10?
I did the
Good, you could use the formula.
I didn't use the formula.
Or what did you do?
I didn't
Good, you just took the difference, right? We can just take the difference. Going from 2 to -4 is down 6, which means I have to go down 6 again. Did you have a question? So go down 6, you get -10 there. So that's what you should have for number 2. If you'll take a look at number 4. We've got that Z is 2, 8. Y is -2, 2. And we need to figure out what X is. So which one of those is the midpoint on this problem? What does it tell you in the instructions? So Y is the midpoint. So this is the midpoint. All right, so the midpoint, -2, 2. We know one of the endpoints. Now, we've done these several ways before. You can use the formula if you'd like to. Remember our formula, and again, that's given to us. Oops, I left that formula off. Let me put it on there real quick. All the formulas that you'll have access to. So here's all the formulas that you'll be able to use. Now on those formulas we see the midpoint of a graph. Right, so there's the midpoint of a graph formula. We simply just take the midpoint of the x's and the midpoint of the y's. Do it the same way. So we go back, let's do the midpoint of the x's. If you're going to do it that route, so x sub m, the midpoint of x is equal to the 2 x's added together, divided by 2. And you could plug in what you know. We know again that y is the midpoint. So -2 is equal to x1, 2, plus whatever our x2 is over 2. If we're going to solve that, what would I do to both sides?
multiply
Good. Multiply by what?
by 2.
By 2. Good. That gets rid of this 2. So -4 is 2 plus x2. So now what do I do to get just x2? If I only want this here, what do I move?
The 2.
I need to move the 2. How do I move that 2?
Subtract it.
Subtract it. So negative 6 is what you end up with. Then you can do the same thing for the y's. Now, keep in mind that we also talked about a much faster way to do this. Remember, we know we have an endpoint. So again, in finding this, I know that I have 1 point, the a to c. Here was ac given to me. It was 3x minus 1. I know that I knew the length of the whole thing was the 12 minus x. So I knew that this one, plus whatever this segment was that's missing here, right, had to equal the whole thing. So I worked through that. So CD again is negative 4x plus 13. Since that's this side here, and 3x minus 1's here, we set them equal. So now to solve this, what's the first step?
Move the 4x.
You could either move the 4 or the 3. It doesn't matter. If you want to move the 4, that's fine. So I've got 13 is 7x minus 1.
Add 1 both sides.
Add 1 to both sides, so you get 14 is 7x.
Divide by 7.
So x is 2. So we know x is 2 now. So if x is 2, how do I figure out what CD is?
Plug in 12 for x.
Simply take the 2, not 12, 2, right? Take the 2, plug it in for x, and you get 6 minus 1, which is 5, right?
That's AC, isn't it?
Well, what's true about them? I can take it, yeah, let's plug it in here. So that's fine, let's plug it in right there. So negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, right? Negative 8 plus 13 is what? Negative 8 plus 13? What did you get as your answer? Took it, plugged it in. What did you get?
CD is 10.
CD is not 10. If I put what's negative 4 times 2?
Negative 8.
Negative 8 plus 13? 5. AD would have been 10, right? If I put 2 here. Now, did it matter if I plugged it back into this equation here for CD, or if I plugged it in here in this case? You get the same thing in this case because C was the midpoint. So that means they were the same either way. But if C wasn't the midpoint, then it would make a big difference which one you plugged it into. Now, real quickly, just going over stem and leaf. A lot of y'all, the other classes, haven't remembered what a stem and leaf is. What number is this representing? That's what?
8.
It's not 8. What number does that represent? It's okay. That's what we're talking about. That, guys, remember, this is 68.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the stem, the leaf. So that's 68. So what number is this?
105.
105.
Oh, cool.
Right? So that's stem and leaf. Now, how many numbers are on here? How many points are given? There's 20, right? What's half of 20? 10. So if I go 10 both directions, all right? So here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The 10th point working backwards is at 4. Going forward, the 10th one is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've gone 10 both ways now. So I know my median, which is the middle number, is somewhere between 81 and 84. It has to be halfway. So you would have had 82.5. And again, remember your points that you need there, your formulas. Now make sure that you can find the distance on a graph. It's just a formula. Again, the formula will be given to you on your test. So if I take an example of that, let's look at an example similar to that real quick. Let's say here's my graph. Here's 2 points. They're connected with a line segment. We'll say this is the point -5, 2. We'll say this is +5, 4. We'll say. The distance formula is how you find the distance between two ordered pairs. So we'll simply take the formula, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, and we'll substitute our values in for it. Remember, here's the first point, here's our second point. So it's just a simple matter of plug it in. Now when you write these formulas, always write the formula again exactly as you see it, but write it without the missing parts that you need first. Notice if you do this, it'll greatly help you in messing up a sign and the problem that you would mess up otherwise. Because I have those minuses in the middle. We want them to stay minus. Now we just plug in what we know. So x2 is what? 5 minus, what's x1? -5. That's why we put the sign in first. A lot of people would have just put 5 minus 5 there. It's not 5 minus 5, it's 5 minus a -5. Plug in our y2 of 4 and our y1 of 2. And I've got something now that I can go through and keep solving. So this is the same thing as the square root of what? What's 5 minus a -5? What's minus a negative? A positive, right? 5 minus a negative is a positive. So that's 5 plus 5, which is 10. So we know that's 100. Now here we've got 4 minus 2, which is 2 squared. So that gives me 4. So we're just left with the square root of 104 as our answer. And you could simply just type that in your calculator and you could figure out what that is. We know it's just over what number? The distance between those is just over what number? What's the closest thing to 104 that we know the square root of? 100, right? What's the square root of 100? 10. So number just over 10. So this gives me something, if you do that on your calculator, approximately 10. All right. Now you'll talk later in the year about reducing this down more than just to a number and whatever we got there. We'll talk about reducing that down by the use of radicals, but you haven't yet. All right. Now again, we'll have a test tomorrow. I'm going to give you a few minutes to ask any questions you have on your assignment or your assignments. Make sure that you know the vocabulary, guys. Make sure you know all the vocabulary, period. Anything that you've learned vocab-wise, make sure you know it. So make sure you know, let me find, I had a paper here to show you. All right.
Can we use notes?
No, it's no notes.
Are you going to use a paper with the equations on them?
Yes, you will have the equations given to you. So these guys up here, make sure you can do And identify. Make sure you can define and identify all of these things. Yes, ma'am.
Is it 9 point?
Which one?
Is this one that you're working?
No, I didn't work that one. I worked one just a similar one to that. I didn't work that one. All right. Make sure you can define all of these. Make sure you also know how to define collinear. A collinear. Make sure you can also define coplanar. What's collinear mean?
The lines are parallel.
Not parallel. What does co mean? Co means you share something, right? So that means it's 2 points that share the same line. So what's coplanar?
2 points that share this.
2 points that share the same plane, or they're on the same plane. So make sure you can define all of these things as well for the test. Right?